Religion, body politics, racism, gender, sexuality, rape culture, and toxic masculinity are some of the issues highlighted in a new production titled Sullied. It is originally conceived and choreographed by Bank Young Artist of the Year for Dance 2021, Kristi-Leigh Gresse, and directed by Matjamela Motloung. Gresse and Motloung join us now on Zoom to tell us more about the production, which heads to the Theatre Arts Admin Collective in Cape Town from the 8th to the 10th of March. Well, let's start off with Kristi. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Live. Give us background into Sullied. What is the inspiration behind the production?
Well, firstly, good morning. Thank you for having us. So Sullied is, in its rawest form, is basically confronting gender-based violence. It's a very painful story about a young woman being confronted with all the aspects of living in a very strong, toxic masculine world, and sort of the repercussions of growing up and not being supported as a young girl and being looked after and nurtured, and then ultimately finding herself in a very painful, traumatic situation. So the inspiration formed as it came from a place where in our country we are constantly having to deal with gender-based violence every single day. And as a woman myself, I felt very strongly about standing up for the conversation around it and protecting and finding a safe space for myself and other women in my immediate environment, and hopefully from there extend outward.
Matjamela Motloung, what drew you to Sullied? How did you become part of this production?
I'd worked with Kristi before on other things, but there was a particular aspect of Sullied I liked was the opportunity for conversation. A lot of times when we deal with gender-sensitive issues, when we deal with social violence, it becomes a him and her conversation. It's never a dual conversation. And we had an opportunity to sit down, think about what is the conversation between me and her interrace, between me and her intersex, male, female. What are the challenges we face? What is the black man experience I can bring to the story, and what is the woman experience she can bring to the story? In the production, we have Fezega, who's a black woman who gives us a black perspective. We have Sandile, who kind of is a representative of the man we're trying to bring onto the stage, and so the collaboration was always there. And for me, it was always an interesting way to kind of confront gender-based violence, to kind of confront toxic masculinity, and to question myself as well if I'm transforming as a man, if I'm contributing as a man. So, what is my role in this whole thing? So the responsibility was always there to try and tell the story in dance and spoken word form, but in a way that the audience walks away with a story. They understand it's not just movements pieced together with some words.
Kristi, Matjamela just touched on some of the other members of the team, Sandile, Fezega, and Nolowazi. How does that translate on stage to make sure that what you were trying to say is, comes across the way you wanted it to come across?
Well, firstly, everyone that's involved in this work are very giving artists. They're very giving in their energy, in their time, in also giving parts of their personal history as well. And when we started the process, I sort of had a core idea and a core story to work with. But over time, the layers developed, and even Matjamela himself bringing in parts of themselves, parts of what they've experienced in life, and that allowed the work to grow. So it was a real organic process that allowed my vision to just be enhanced, let's say that, because I can't stand here and say that the work is purely just my own idea. There are parts of everyone in the work, and I love working in that aspect because we're multifaceted. You know, we have so many complex issues surrounding our history, surrounding who we are as people. And I feel like that should always resonate in every work that, or for me personally, in my opinion, should resonate in the work that we create. And I feel in order to do that, we need to bring in everyone's own stories, bring in their experiences, their ideas, because everyone has a valid role to play in telling these kinds of stories.
And Matjamela, for you, that having that synergy with Kristi as well, what did that teach you about what we know about gender-based violence, what you know about it, given the different perspectives that you are working from?
That we're not talking to each other, we're talking at each other. So with the production, we're kind of hoping that we become a base and a platform for conversation. You know, when we did the Joburg leg, one of the reviews that we got was that this is not Friday night entertainment. And I agree, it's not. But when is sexual violence, toxic masculinity appropriate? On Tuesdays, on Thursdays, you know, like it's every day. So it allowed one to confront a very heavy subject, to it. But because of some of the things that Kristi has said around generosity and sharing, it has allowed us as a group to kind of sit down and reflect on ourselves and how we contribute in toxic situations, pro and against, you know, both women and men, to say, what are the triggers? What are the things that we allow ourselves to put ourselves in? What are the things that we grew up knowing that they are okay, you know, twist the hand here, slap the back there, be pushed and take it. And then how long is enough? But also it allows us to question familiarity. Just because we know each other, just because we're cool, when does the line get blurred? You know, and Sullied kind of in movement, in words written beautifully by Kwezi Becker, allows us that opportunity to kind of flirt with that. I like you, I don't like you, stop, continue. So when you come see the show, there's a lot of body work because it's dance mainly, but it's dance that meets beautiful theater in a sense of poetry and acting through Fezega. And it's a new way, I think, of telling stories in South Africa, a new way that's not doi necessarily, but that is still protest in its approach. You know, I think it's a beautiful opportunity for South African theatre that we can have protest theatre that is against something, but it's for something at the same time. So this, while it's against all this wrongs that we're speaking about, it allows us an opportunity also to begin a conversation around how do we move forward? What are the solutions?
Kristi, I want to talk about how you say, you know, Sullied is a societal reflection of how society refuses to accept women equality and self-worth. What do you think is at the root cause of this?
I think it's very difficult to find a root cause because for me, issues around gender, in particular oppression of women, has been, I mean, going on for hundreds and thousands of years. You know, it's ingrained in stories that we tell from a past that is still existing but barely living, if that makes sense. Because a lot of the people have passed on now that sort of were the base, I think, for a root cause for what we face now. And I think that it has just never been dealt with in its fullest capacity. And although we've made small strides and we've liberated women in being able to vote, we've allowed them into the workspace, but have we dealt with the violence of what's dealt with at home, especially? And I don't think that's really happened. The justice system, although has made great strides in trying to defend women, there's still so much lacking in taking accountability from the side, the accused side, and the justice system is still not doing, in my opinion, enough. The police are not doing enough. Society is not really tackling how we view women. especially in spaces of familiarity in the home space, because we might say, yes, we want a woman to allow them into workspaces to earn money to support the family because we need to. But what happens when we're at home? What is her role at home? How is she viewed at home? What is the conversations taking place there? So it's very difficult to find a root cause, because this is something that has taken place way, way, way behind us. But also it's something that I, in my opinion, feel like it's never truly fully been tackled yet.
Matjamela, apart from the Friday night conversation, comment and the reviews, what was the response? You were at Actor Spaces, I believe, last month. What was the response from Johannesburg?
Positive response. I think people are finding a vehicle to conversate and allow us to confront who we are and what we are. I think we're deeply traumatized as a society. If my great-grandmother woke up today, she's going to ask my younger sister, are you still fighting the same fights? You know, and I think our trauma is ingrained in colonialism, in apartheid, and now we haven't been better for the last 27, 28 years. And one thing that's synonymous with us is violence, and everybody was just reflecting on how do we move beyond the violence. You know, I think we're grateful that we have this MGE fund to go on the road and spread the word a little bit, and hopefully get some conversations. We're sitting down as a direct result of Joburg. We're sitting down with theatre director Warona Sian on Wednesday to try and unpack the work with the audience in Cape Town, and we are hoping that's going to give us a broader picture of what society can do. You know, but also just to highlight also that Kristi is the current Standard Bank Young Artist for Dance. You know, this tour has allowed us to properly introduce her to the country. Say, here's your winner for dance for this year, and this is her work. And I think I'm immensely proud to be working with her and being able to share this work with audiences.
All right. Matjamela Motloung, Kristi, thank you so much for talking to us. She's Standard Bank Young Artist for 2021, as Matjamela Motloung said. Well, Sullied heads to Cape Town Theatre Arts and Men Collective in Cape Town from the 8th to the 10th of March 2022. Shows are at 7:30 p.m. nightly. It is originally conceived and choreographed by Kristi-Leigh Gresse.